Captain Elias Ward stepped through the sliding doors of the diplomatic chamber aboard the Resolute, expecting to see a calm room prepared for the first official meeting with the Lyrian envoy. Instead, the moment the doors opened, he froze. The room was dim. Emergency lights glowed in thin red lines along the floor. The main illumination panels on the ceiling were dark. The air hummed with quiet static, like a machine trying to restart but failing again and again. And in the middle of the room stood a young alien girl. She was Lyrian, her crystalline skin shining faintly like polished glass. But what mattered more was what she wasn't wearing. Her ceremonial armor, the layered, glowing plates that Lyrians considered vital for status and protection, was nowhere to be seen. She stood unarmored, completely exposed by her culture's standards. Her eyes, large, bright, and full of shifting colors, widened in shock as she saw Elias enter. He held up both hands slowly. "It's all right," he said calmly. "I didn't mean to startle you." She took a step back, her fingers trembling. Her voice came out soft, musical, and strained. The lights, everything turned off. I was alone. Then, the armor. She stopped herself, clearly overwhelmed. Elias noticed something else. The armor pieces were scattered across the floor like someone had ripped them off quickly and carelessly. But Lyrian armor could not be removed without the wearer's consent. It was bonded through bioenergy channels. Someone had forced this. Elias scanned the room with a soldier's instinct. Nothing moved. No shadows flickered. But the system's being dead was a clear warning. Something had gone wrong. He spoke gently, careful not to alarm her further. "Envoy Saris, right?" She nodded, still keeping her distance. "I'm Captain Elias Ward," he continued. "We were supposed to begin our meeting in 10 minutes. When the systems dropped, I came to check." Saris swallowed nervously, her crystalline throat shifting with light. "My armor." Someone touched the controls. Someone who knew how to override them. Number. Elias had never heard of anyone overriding Lyrian armor. It was supposed to be impossible. "Did you see who did it?" "No." The lights went dark, and I felt a pulse, a pressure. She touched her bare arm. Then my armor detached. It fell apart. I felt defenseless. Free. Elias took a slow step forward, making sure not to invade her space. "You're safe now." "I'm here." She blinked at him, surprised by the certainty in his voice. Humans were known for many things: curiosity, stubbornness, ambition. But the Lyrians had not expected them to be comforting. Elias crouched near a piece of the fallen armor. The smooth plate was cracked down the middle. He frowned. This didn't fall off. It was disabled. "How?" Saris asked, quietly. "That's what I intend to find out." He stood and tapped his wrist communicator. "Bridge. This is Ward. Can you read me?" Silence. He tried again. Nothing. He looked up at Saris. "Our comms are jammed." Saris wrapped her arms around herself. "I don't understand. This was supposed to be a peaceful meeting." "It still is," Elias said. "But we need to stay alert." A soft vibration passed through the floor like the engines shifting power unexpectedly. Elias and Saris exchanged worried glances. Something was moving through the ship. Elias motioned toward the doorway. "Come with me. We should get to a powered section where systems are online." Saris hesitated. "I'm unarmored. I shouldn't be seen like this." "I understand," Elias replied, "but staying here isn't safe. Something sabotaged this room. Whatever or whoever did it might still be close." She looked down at her exposed crystalline skin, glowing faintly like liquid sapphire. Without armor, her species felt vulnerable, not physically, but spiritually. The armor wasn't just a protective tool. It was a symbol of identity, honor, and emotional stability. Elias softened his voice. Saris, I won't let anything happen to you. That was enough. Slowly, she nodded. They stepped into the dark hallway. Emergency lighting flickered, casting long shadows across the walls. The silence felt heavy, like the ship was holding its breath. Saris walked close behind him, careful to keep her steps quiet. Is your ship often like this? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. No, Elias answered. The Resolute is one of the most stable vessels in the fleet. For it to lose power like this means direct sabotage. By humans? She asked softly. Elias could have taken offense, but he understood her fear. If a human did this, I'll handle it. But something tells me this is bigger. Saris listened to the faint hum of damaged circuitry above them. Lyrians have ways to sense energy patterns. May I try? 1. Go ahead, Elias said. She closed her eyes. Her skin brightened, casting a faint blue glow around them. She touched the wall, gently. There is a distortion in the energy lines. Something foreign was here. Something with its own internal power source. Not human, then, Elias said. No. She opened her eyes, fear returning. And the signature? It's not Lyrian either. Great, Elias muttered. Third-party interference during a peace talk. Just what we needed. As they walked, Saris studied him. Humans react strangely to danger. How so? You stay calm, even when things are uncertain. Lyrians would freeze or step back until they understand. Elias walked with measured steps. We don't like stepping back. That is what worries some of my people. He smiled slightly. And what do you think? She looked away shyly. You came alone to help me. You entered without armor. Elias laughed softly. Humans don't use armor unless we're in combat. That is exactly why it is surprising, Saris said. You walked into a dark room without protection. You saw me unarmored and still protected me. You didn't show fear. Oh, Elias shrugged. Fear's part of the job, so is doing the right thing. She gave him a small, genuine smile. For her species, showing teeth even in a smile meant deep trust. They reached a containment bulkhead. Elias placed his palm to the access pad, but it only beeped, weakly. Still no power, he said. Backup circuits must be offline too. Saris leaned in to inspect the panel. Something drained the energy intentionally. It is not random failure. The lines are empty. Elias straightened. Someone wants us isolated. Why? I am only an envoy. 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 An envoy? Maybe that's exactly why. Elias scanned the corridor. If someone wanted to stop the alliance between humans and Lyrians, you'd be the first target. Saris's eyes widened. Then they will come again. And that's why we keep moving. They turned down another corridor. A sudden clang echoed behind them, metal hitting metal. Both froze. Elias drew a small stun sidearm from his belt and held it ready without pointing it at Saris. Stay behind me. Saris's glow dimmed as she lowered herself slightly. A natural defensive stance for her kind. I don't sense a life form. Riemann. But something's there, Elias whispered. Another clang. Closer. He stepped forward carefully. The sound came from a maintenance hatch along the wall. The cover wasn't secured properly. It hung loose by a single bolt. Elias nudged it open with the barrel of his stun weapon. Inside the utility shaft, a small drone lay sparking faintly. Its casing melted. It wasn't human tech. It wasn't Lyrian either. Its surface bore strange markings, like branching veins of silver. Saris gasped. That is Vol technology. Elias's jaw tightened. Vol Dominion? They're nowhere near this sector. Val. They aren't supposed to be, she said, voice tight with fear. But this drone. This is a scout model. It can bypass locks and disrupt power. Which means it killed the lights in your chamber, Elias said. And removed my armor, Saris finished quietly. Elias looked at the damaged drone again. If a scout is here, then an infiltrator might be too. Saris stepped closer to him. Captain Ward, what do we do? He met her eyes, steady and firm. We find the intruder, and we stop them before they cause more damage. She studied him again, his determination, his calmness, his readiness to face something unknown. Humans truly are different, she murmured. We try to be, he replied with a small smile. Together, they moved deeper into the powerless corridor, human and Lyrian, vulnerable but united by danger neither yet understood. And somewhere in the darkness of the Resolute, the real threat waited. Captain Elias Ward and Saris moved carefully through the dim halls of the Resolute. Emergency lights glowed like red coals under their feet, giving the long corridor a quiet, uneasy feeling. Every few seconds, a soft tremble ran through the ship, tiny vibrations caused by power rerouting or damaged systems struggling to work. Saris kept close behind Elias. Without her ceremonial armor, she felt exposed. Her crystalline skin glowed faintly with a nervous blue light, casting small reflections on the walls. Elias could sense her fear, even though she tried to hide it. Stay calm, Elias said softly as they walked. We're still in control of the ship. We just need to understand what we're dealing with. Saris nodded, though her voice trembled. The Val Dominion is dangerous. If they planted scouts here, they have a reason. Elias stopped at a corner, checking both sides before stepping forward. I know. That's why we need to be careful. I. A sudden static sound crackled through the overhead speakers, but it faded instantly. Saris flinched. Elias looked up with narrowed eyes. That was the comm line trying to restart, he said. Someone's blocking it. Can it be fixed from a terminal? Saris asked. Elias shook his head. Not from here. We need a main junction hub. But the closest one is down 3 decks. That far? Yeah, Elias said. And if the infiltrator knows what they're doing, they'll be trying to stop anyone from reaching the core systems. Saris looked around nervously. Then we must hurry. The two continued carefully. The silence inside the ship felt unnatural. Usually, a ship like the Resolute was alive with activity crew members talking, machinery buzzing, engines humming. Now, everything felt muted, as if someone had wrapped the ship in thick cloth. This quiet feels wrong, Saris whispered. Elias nodded. The Resolute isn't supposed to sound like this. As they passed another corridor, Saris stopped suddenly. Elias turned. What is it? Saris placed her palm on the wall. Her skin brightened as she focused. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, small glowing lines spread across the surface, like veins of blue light. I can feel energy trails, she said softly. Lyrians can sense power patterns. Something foreign moved through this corridor recently. Something Val? Saris nodded. The energy feels sharp, metallic, not like your human machinery, not like our systems either. Elias crouched to examine tiny scorch marks near the floor. And these traces look like micro-thruster burns. From the drone we saw? Saris asked. No, Elias said. That drone was too small. These burns are bigger. We're dealing with something else. Saris felt a chill run through her. Then the infiltrator is moving freely. And leaving a trail, Elias answered. A careless one. That means they're confident. Or desperate, Saris said. Elias stood. Either way, we follow the trail. They moved into a lower deck using a manual ladder. Without power, the lifts were useless. The ladder shaft was quiet, except for the distant echo of metal, shifting somewhere far above them. Saris climbed carefully, her glowing skin lighting the narrow space. "Do humans do this often?" she asked softly. "Climb into unknown areas during danger?" Elias chuckled slightly. "More often than we'd like." She looked down at him from above. "Why?" "Because if we don't handle problems early," Elias said, "they get worse. Humans prefer moving forward instead of waiting." Saris considered this. "Lyrians usually wait until we understand everything." "That's good for science," Elias replied. "But in emergencies, you don't always get that time." Saris gave a tiny nod. "You are different from what I expected." "Is that a good thing?" Elias asked. "I am still deciding," she answered honestly, and Elias smiled. When they reached Deck 6, they stepped out into a hallway that was darker than the ones above. Most of the emergency lights here were dead. Elias activated a small handheld flashlight, creating a narrow beam ahead of them. Saris shivered. "It feels colder here." "That's because this deck is close to the outer hull," Elias said. "Temperature control isn't working, so heat is leaking out." As they walked, the flashlight beam landed on something strange, scratches along the wall, forming long, jagged lines. Elias ran his fingers over them. These weren't made by a drone. Saris leaned closer. "What then?" "A tool," Elias said. "Or claws." Saris's glow dimmed. "Claws?" "Some Vol units use bioengineered infiltrators. They look like machines, but move like animals." "That sounds terrifying." "It is," Elias admitted quietly. "But if one is loose on my ship, we'll handle it." Saris stared at him. "You face danger with such certainty." "Someone has to," Elias said simply. They moved toward the engineering junction. The closer they got, the more signs of tampering they saw. Burned panels, loose wires, shattered control pads, all pointing to someone working quickly and without fear of detection. When they rounded a corner, Saris stopped again. "Energy pulse," she whispered. Elias lifted his stun weapon. "Where?" She pointed ahead. "Behind that door." Elias approached slowly. The door was slightly open, hanging crookedly from its rail. He tapped it gently, and it swung wider, with a metallic screech. Inside was a small auxiliary systems room. It was dark, except for a faint, sparkling glow from Saris's skin. Elias stepped inside first. "Stay close," he murmured. Saris followed. The room looked like it had been attacked by a wild creature. Tools were thrown everywhere. Power cells smashed, panels torn open. But the most disturbing detail was the wall, 3 long claw marks etched deep into the metal. Saris touched the scratches, and her skin flickered with alarm. "Vol infiltrator confirmed. These claws, they belong to a stalker model." Elias exhaled slowly. "A stalker? That's not a scout. That's a sabotage unit. Designed to infiltrate, disrupt, and escape unseen," Saris added. Elias inspected the ground. "And it came through here recently." "How do you know?" Saris asked. "The metal dust from these scratches hasn't settled yet," Elias said. "It's fresh." Saris looked around nervously. Then the stalker could still be close. "It could be anywhere," Elias said. "But it left this place after finishing whatever it came to do." And Saris swallowed. "What did it do?" Elias knelt near a small control panel. "It destroyed this junction. That means it cut power to the entire side of the ship." Saris closed her eyes, sensing the dead energy lines. "Then, many systems must be offline." "Exactly," Elias said. "Communications, sensors, life support, in some sections. They wanted the Resolute blind." Saris's voice trembled. "Why sabotage a peace ship?" Elias stood. "Because if the Vol can make the Lyrians believe the humans attacked you, or vice versa, the alliance fails." Saris stared at him. realization dawning. And the peace treaty collapses, which is exactly what they want, Elias said. A sudden metallic thud echoed down the hallway outside the room. Elias turned sharply, raising his weapon. Saris froze, her skin flashing bright with fear. Then another sound, soft scraping, like metal sliding over metal. "It's close," Saris whispered. "Back against the wall," Elias instructed quietly. She nodded quickly and moved beside him. Elias switched off the flashlight. Darkness swallowed the room, leaving only Saris's faint glow. He raised his hand gently. "Dim your light," he whispered. She focused, and her glow faded to almost nothing. Silence returned. A shadow moved past the doorway. Something low to the ground, with a smooth, almost liquid motion. Saris held her breath. Elias stayed perfectly still. The shadow paused. Then it slipped away down the corridor. Only when the sound faded completely did Elias finally exhale. "That was it," he whispered. Saris shivered. "It sensed us." "Maybe," Elias said, "but it didn't attack, which means it has a mission more important than us." Saris looked at him anxiously. "What do we do now?" Elias's answer was steady and sure. "We follow it. We figure out what it's after. And we stop it." Saris nodded, gathering her courage. "I will follow you." Elias gave her a small, confident smile. "Good. Because the Resolute needs us both right now." Together, they stepped back into the dark corridor, moving toward the place where the stalker had gone, toward the heart of the ship and the danger waiting inside it. The corridor grew darker and colder as Elias, Ward, and Saris went deeper into the heart of the Resolute. The emergency lights were weaker here, flickering like dying candles. Every flicker made the shadows jump, and every sound echoed as if the ship were breathing. Saris walked close behind Elias, her faint blue glow the only steady light in the hallway. She was unarmored, vulnerable, and afraid, but she was trying hard not to show it. Elias admired her for that. "What is this deck?" she whispered. "Security operations," Elias replied. "Weapons, lockers, shield generators, tactical systems. If the stalker infiltrator is heading anywhere, it's somewhere along this deck." Saris shivered. "That means it wants control of your defenses." "Exactly. If it gets access, it could make the ship fire on a Lyrian vessel or even destroy us from inside. Either way, the Vol win." Saris touched the wall again, sensing the energy. "I can feel power returning slightly here. That means the stalker didn't destroy this section completely." "Good," Elias said. "That gives us a chance." They approached a security checkpoint. The doors were half open, jammed by a piece of bent metal. It looked like something had ripped the locking mechanism apart. Elias motioned for Saris to stay behind him. He stepped slowly into the checkpoint. Stun weapon raised. The air smelled faintly, like burnt circuitry. A voice suddenly called from inside the room. "Hey, who's out there? Identify yourself." Elias lowered his weapon slightly. "Lieutenant Ramos? Is that you?" "Yes, sir," the voice answered. Elias pushed into the room and found two human security officers, Lieutenant Ramos and Specialist Dunn, hiding behind an overturned metal desk. Both looked tense, but unharmed. Ramos looked relieved when he saw Elias. "Captain, we thought everyone topside was down." "Most systems are," Elias said. "What happened here?" Ramos gestured toward the destroyed door. "Something broke in. Fast. Too fast. It avoided every shot we fired." "Stalker unit," Elias confirmed. Dunn wiped sweat from his forehead. "That wasn't a normal machine. It moved like it knew what we were thinking." Elias nodded grimly. "It's engineered to predict behavior." Saris stepped into view. The officers stared at her glowing skin and unfamiliar features. Dunn blinked. "Is she?" Elias answered quickly. Lyrian envoy. She's with me. Dunn swallowed. She's unarmored. Saris looked down, embarrassed. Elias spoke firmly. Her armor was sabotaged. Treat her with respect. Both officers straightened immediately. Ramos nodded. Of course, Captain. Saris gave a small, grateful smile. Elias turned to Ramos. Where did the stalker go after the attack? Ramos pointed down the hall, toward the shield generator room. Elias's expression hardened. Then we don't have much time. Saris frowned. Why is that room important? Dunn explained. The shield generator controls all external protection. If the infiltrator disables it, any ship outside could destroy us with one shot. Or, Elias added, it could fake a human attack on the Lyrian ships waiting nearby. Saris's eyes widened. That would end negotiations instantly. That's the plan, Elias said. We can't let that happen. Ramos quickly stood and grabbed his rifle. We're coming with you, sir. Saris stepped forward. Are human soldiers always this ready? Elias smiled faintly. It's our job. Ramos grinned. It's either that or get yelled at by the captain later. Saris didn't fully understand the humor, but she appreciated the lightness in the moment. Let's move, Elias ordered. The group advanced down the corridor. Saris stayed between Elias and the security team, feeling strangely protected by the humans, who walked with confidence even in darkness. They reached the shield generator room, a large doorway with heavy plating. It was closed. Elias tried the control panel, but it sparked weakly and went dead in his hand. It locked it from the inside, Elias said. Then it's trying to override something, Ramos noted. Elias pressed his ear to the metal door. He could hear faint movement, sharp clicks, mechanical scraping, and a low humming sound like an engine powering up. It's using the core controls, Elias whispered. It wants to disable the main shields. Saris's glowing fingers touched the door. I feel the power levels inside. They're unstable. Dunn stepped back. Unstable how? Like a room filled with energy but pulled in every direction, Saris explained. The systems are fighting each other. That means the stalker is forcing them, Elias said. If it pushes too hard, the generator could overload. What happens if it overloads? Saris asked. Elias answered seriously. Half the ship could blow out. Saris felt a cold chill inside her. The danger kept growing. Elias turned to Saris. You said your species can sense energy. Can you track the stalker's exact position inside the room? 1. Saris hesitated. She didn't have her armor, her usual stabilizer. Without it, her senses were weaker. But she saw Elias's steady eyes waiting, trusting her. She closed her eyes. Her glow brightened softly. She touched the door and let her senses spread across the metal. She felt vibrations, pulses, sharp static noises. She pushed harder, reaching deeper with her senses. Then she felt it. A sharp, cold point of energy, moving with purpose. It is near the central console, she said. On the left side of the room. Elias nodded. Ramos, Dunn. Cover the right side. Saris and I will take the left. Ramos raised his rifle. Ready. Dunn breathed deeply. Let's do this. Elias put his hand on the manual override lever. On my mark. He looked at Saris. She nodded. Fear in her eyes, but courage in her heart. Mark. Elias pulled the lever. The door screeched open. The room was dark except for sparking cables and the faint glow of the generator core. The stalker stood near the control panel, a sleek creature made of black metal and silver lines, shaped almost like a four-legged panther but with sharp mechanical edges. Its eyes glowed red, and its claws sparked with energy. It turned instantly. Ramos fired first. Bright stun rounds lit the room. The stalker jumped sideways like a blur, the shots hitting only the wall. Dunn shouted, "It's fast." Elias fired next, aiming not where the stalker was, but where it would move. His shot grazed the machine's leg. The stalker staggered. Saris backed up quickly, her glow brightening with fear. Elias moved in front of her, without thinking. The stalker lunged toward Elias. Ramos fired again. The creature twisted mid-air, avoiding the hit. Elias dove sideways, pulling Saris with him. The stalker slammed into the floor, claws ripping metal. "It's going for the generator," Elias yelled. The stalker leaped again, climbing the generator column with frightening speed. Saris cried out, "If it reaches the top, it can disable the shield core." Elias sprinted after it. Dunn and Ramos fired bursts to force the stalker to change direction. The creature dodged wildly, but was forced off its path. Elias climbed the ladder on the side of the generator column. The stalker crawled on the metal surface like a dark spider, its claws slicing into the plating. Saris stood below, watching with fear. She lifted her hands and focused, her glow brightening. "Elias! Its right front leg is weaker from your earlier shot. Aim there." Elias trusted her instantly. He fired at the weak spot. Direct hit. The stalker staggered and slipped, falling hard to the floor. Ramos fired a stun burst into its core. Dunn fired another. The stalker twitched, sparks flying. Then it collapsed. Silence filled the room. Elias climbed down, breathing hard. "Good work, everyone." Saris approached the disabled stalker carefully. "Its energy is fading. It won't move again." Ramos wiped his forehead. "Captain, humans don't usually fight machines that fast, without armor." "They do," Saris said softly, staring at Elias with awe. "Humans protect, even when they are unprotected." Elias smiled gently at her. "That's what allies do." Saris felt warmth rise in her chest. For the first time since losing her armor, she didn't feel vulnerable because humanity had stood beside her, even in danger. But the mission wasn't over. Elias turned toward the control panel. "We need to fix the generator and get power back." Saris nodded. "Then," Elias said, "we find out if there are more Vol units on board." The shield generator room slowly calmed as the last sparks faded from the damaged stalker infiltrator. The machine lay still, its red eyes dark, its mechanical claws frozen mid-twitch. Elias Ward stood with his team, breathing hard but steady. Saris, still glowing faintly with blue light, kept one hand on the generator column as if grounding herself. "Is it over?" Dunn asked quietly. Elias shook his head. The stalker was only one part of the plan. The Vol wouldn't put just a single unit on a mission this important. Saris stepped forward. "Then there may be more?" "Maybe," Elias said. "But the biggest danger now is misinformation." Saris frowned. "What do you mean?" Elias pointed at the main console. "If the Vol send a false signal or damage our systems in a specific way, they can make it look like humans attacked you. Your delegation. Your ship. Maybe even your homeworld fleet." Saris's eyes widened. "That would end everything. The treaty. The peace. All of it. Creeding. Reckoning. Creeding. 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 Creeding." "Exactly," Elias said. "That's why we need to restore communication and warn both sides." Ramos jogged over. "Captain, I got partial power back to the console. Enough for manual commands." "Good. Let's see what the stalker was trying to do." Elias typed rapidly. The console screen flickered to life, showing a stream of corrupted code. Saris watched, fascinated by the speed of his hands. "You humans type like you're fighting," she murmured. Elias smirked. "In a way, we are. We are." He kept working until lines of clean data replaced the corrupted ones. Then his face hardened. "Just as I feared," he said. The stalker planted a timed command. "In 40 minutes, The Resolute would have fired a pulse at the Lyrian flagship. Ceres's crystalline glow dimmed in shock. And then humans would defend themselves, Elias added, voice serious. And the Vol would sit back and watch two future allies destroy each other. Dunn muttered, "They really want this treaty gone." Ceres placed a trembling hand on her chest. "We must stop it." "We will," Elias said, already typing. "Ramos, Dunn, guard the door. There might be another Vol unit." The two soldiers ran into position, weapons raised. Ceres stepped beside Elias, her eyes following his fingers. "Can I help?" 8. "Yes," Elias said without hesitation. "Use your energy senses. If the stalker left a hidden override or secondary code, you might feel it better than our scanners can detect." Ceres nodded. She closed her eyes, touching the console lightly. Her glow brightened, spreading small ripples of blue across the screen. "I feel something," she whispered. "Can you pinpoint it?" Elias asked. "Yes. Here." She tapped a part of the console. Elias zoomed in on the data and found a hidden trigger, an automatic shutdown of human weapons detection systems. "If this had gone live," Elias said, "the Lyrian ship would detect a shot with no warning from us. It would seem intentional." Ceres stepped back, horrified. "We cannot trust anything until we delete all of it." "Then let's finish this," Elias said. The two worked together, Elias rewriting code, Ceres sensing hidden traps. It felt strange, almost symbolic. A human and a Lyrian, different species with different abilities, fighting side by side against a common enemy. Humanity standing strong, Lyrians standing brave, both learning to trust. After several minutes, Elias hit the final command. "Done," he said, leaning back. "The Vol sabotage is completely removed." Ceres smiled softly. "You humans work fast. And you help faster?" Elias replied. But their victory was short-lived. A loud alarm blared overhead. Red lights flashed violently. Ramos shouted from the doorway. "Captain, we have movement in the outer corridor." Elias raised his weapon. "What kind of movement?" "Metallic," Ramos said. Dunn added nervously. "Too fast." Ceres's energy flared. "Another stalker?" "No," Elias said, eyes narrowing. "If it was another stalker, they wouldn't rush. This is something else." A metallic roar shook the hallway. Ceres gasped. "What was that?" Elias stepped forward. "The main unit. The controller. The stalker was only a scout compared to it." The lights flickered. A shadow filled the corridor. Then it appeared. A larger Vol infiltration unit twice the size of the stalker, with a body like a mechanical wolf and a head lined with red sensors. Its claws were long, sharp, and glowing with energy. Pipes of liquid metal pumped through its limbs. It growled a deep, synthetic rumble that vibrated through the floor. Dunn whispered, "We are so not paid enough for this." "Hold your ground," Elias ordered. The machine charged. Ramos fired first, stun shots slamming into the machine's armor, but they sparked harmlessly. Dunn fired next, aiming for the legs, but the machine dodged with terrifying speed. Ceres ran behind a support beam, glowing brightly in fear. "Elias," she cried. "Its energy signature is huge. It is not like the stalker." "I know," Elias shouted back. The machine lunged at him. Elias rolled aside just in time. Metal claws slashed the air where he had stood a moment earlier. Ramos tried to flank it. The machine knocked him aside with a single swipe. Ramos hit the wall hard, groaning. "Ramos!" Elias yelled. "I'm fine," Ramos answered, though he clearly wasn't. The unit turned toward Elias again, jaws opening with a whirring sound. Ceres suddenly shouted, "Captain, Its weakness is on its back. A power conduit. Elias made a quick decision. Done. Fire at its head. Distract it. Dunn unloaded stun shots at the machine's face. They sparked but did little damage. Still, the unit turned toward Dunn. Elias sprinted behind it. Saris, guide me, he called. Her glow brightened. A little more left. Now forward. It's turning, hurry! Elias jumped, grabbing the machine's back plating. Sparks shot out as his weight disrupted its balance. The machine roared and bucked wildly, trying to throw him off. There, Saris pointed. A small red line on the right side. Elias pulled his stun weapon, set it to maximum power, and fired directly into the conduit. A blinding flash filled the room. The machine screamed. If a machine could scream, then collapsed with a heavy crash, lights flickering out. Elias rolled off its metal shell, landing hard on the floor. Saris rushed to him. Are you hurt? Elias shook his head. Nothing serious. She placed a hand on his arm anyway, her glow softening. You protected us. Again. Elias smiled. It's what humans do. With the remaining Vol threat eliminated, the team restored power to the generator and reactivated the communication network. The lights across the Resolute slowly flickered back to full brightness. The ship hummed again. Alive. Awake. Soon after, the bridge contacted Elias. The Lyrian flagship contacted Saris. Both sides demanded answers. Elias and Saris stood together in the restored diplomatic chamber, ready to explain. Saris wore a temporary energy shield human-made, not as elegant as Lyrian armor, but protective enough. Elias stood beside her, like a guardian. Saris spoke first, her voice clear, strong. Humans did not attack us. We fought together against a common enemy, the Vol Dominion. She turned to Elias. He protected me when I was unarmored. He risked himself to save this ship and our alliance. Humanity is brave, loyal, and honorable. Elias bowed his head slightly. And the Lyrians stood with us, in danger. We only survived because we trusted each other. There was silence across both channels. Then agreement. The alliance was signed within the hour. Humans and Lyrians, united. Saris looked at Elias afterward, her glow gentle and warm. You changed how I see your people. Quotes. And you changed how I see trust, Elias replied. The Resolute hummed with renewed energy, its future bright. Humanity had stood up. Lyrians had stood firm. And together they had stopped a war before it began.